Bastrop, Texas is well known for its rich history, natural beauty, and an authentic vibe that you just can't find anywhere else. The City of Bastrop is proud to bring you Overheard at City Hall, a podcast aimed at bringing you, our community, inside the walls of City Hall to get to know the hardworking men and women of the City of Bastrop who wake up every day to serve you, our citizens. Join us as we discuss the many topics that on any given day may be overheard at City Hall.
Hey Bastrop City Manager Paul Hofmann, and you're watching Overheard at City Hall. We're actually at City Hall today, and this is Season 2 and Episode 8, and I am meeting with Assistant City Manager Rebecca Gleason, and as of yesterday, we are filming this on July the 27th. At the July 26th City Council meeting, the City Council approved Trey Job as acting city manager. And no, I'm not being fired. I have taken another job. I will be an associate professor of the practice at the Bush School of Government at Texas A&M University in August, and excited about that. How are you guys doing?
We're going to miss you.
We are going to miss you. I will say that in anticipation of your retirement, I went ahead and picked up a cowboy hat, much like yours,
Okay.
just so I could be ready to take over.
That really looks good on you, Trey. Okay.
It's a little hipper.
A little
hipper.
Much like our management styles, very similar, but mine's a little hipper and cooler, but here we are.
Well, that'll be a much welcomed addition to the culture. Thank you very much.
Otherwise, it's like looking in a mirror.
Do you know the words to any George Strait songs?
I don't.
Okay.
A couple of David Allan Coe songs, but we can't talk about those on the podcast.
David Allan Coe, that works.
Oh, and by the way, we actually have you something else. Not that we're in a hurry to get rid of you, but it is your plaque from the dais. You can see we've already put my name
You've already
up
been
there.
removed.
Oh my gosh, my seat's not even cold yet. All right, this is not how I planned this podcast to go. We were going to talk about stuff happening with the city, right?
Let's start.
Let's start. Okay.
Still happening.
Well, Trey, you're going to be a busy guy.
Going to be busy. There's lots going on, lots of development, lots of cool new things happening.
It's an exciting time to be a Bastropian.
And in
That is
fact,
for sure.
in addition to appointing you the acting city manager, there were some pretty interesting topics on the council agenda on July the 26th. In fact, the very last agenda item that they took up about 9 o'clock that night was...
Only my mom was watching.
Maybe so.
Everyone else had fallen off.
Well, the council approved us entering into a partner arrangement with a convention center hotel developer.
We are.
Rebecca, you've been working on that project, and people may not know what we have in mind there.
Sure. So our community has been talking about the building of a hotel connected to our convention center on Chestnut, right across from City Hall, for several years. The first official documentation goes back to 2015. It was a recommendation for having a higher occupancy.
I thought this was my idea. It goes back to 2015?
You must have called in 2015 and said, I have a good idea for you.
No, I came to town 2 years ago and said, there ought to be a hotel there.
Yes,
That's
you invented
my
it.
memory
That's
of it.
right. The Paul Hotel, that's what we're calling it.
let's not do
So we have done a feasibility study, which was completed in 2018, that said, yes, you can support a hotel. Since that time, things have only grown. We actually got busier during COVID, and our hotels are full most of the time. So not only are we a great tourist destination, but we also have a lot of business going on here. And so we need more hotel rooms, and a hotel connected to our convention center will help us to fully utilize that great space as well. So we, last night, presented council a letter of intent, which basically means we are going steady with a single developer, and we are negotiating working towards a contract to build a boutique hotel. It is about a $30 million project. We're talking about 130 to 150 rooms, full restaurant, full bar. The first floor would have additional space for retail, maybe a coffee shop or a sandwich shop. So it would be open to the community as well as our visitors, and would be right here along Chestnut. And they would help us fill the convention center and take on its operations. So it's a pretty exciting time. It will, if we are able to build a hotel, it will really secure the future of our downtown district for the next 50 years. So
we took kind of an old-fashioned approach before we decided to go steady. We met the
we
parents.
We dated for a while.
We met the parents.
We did.
Right? We did a little background checking.
Yeah.
You know, what are your intentions here?
Yes.
Are you going to take care of our property over here and treat it the right way? Right?
We
Guiding
definitely
principles,
courted
we call
them. We took them all over downtown and had them come for several visits, because if they did not love our community the way we did,
Right.
then they were not going to be a good partner for us. And so I will tell you that I think Maxine's is what really did it. That is one of the partners' favorite restaurants. And
Must have been the chicken waffles.
he gets the fried green tomato BLT
okay.
100% of the time. And it is the place he eats every single time he drives to town for the
awesome.
hotel discussion. So he is definitely on his way to being a Bastropian.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Couldn't be a better time with the downtown master plan. We'll talk about that some more, I'm sure.
Yeah.
With the corridor study of Loop 150 and Chestnut redevelopment, all super.
Old Iron
symbiotic.
Bridge.
Old Iron Bridge.
Yeah.
Busy.
All at no financial risk to the city of Bastrop, the way we've laid this out.
Exactly.
It's-
That was one of the major concerns
That's
around
right.
the hotel, was we wanted to ensure that the financial risk to the city was minimal, and that we believe that our investment in that hotel was the convention center. We have built the convention center, and that is our investment. So we wanted a partner that was going to bring serious capital to the
Absolutely.
table.
Yeah.
And the other thing we have is we have the land. And so we are still we got a promise ring. So that does not mean that we'll get to the finish line, but we are the closest we've ever been. And we are really staying hopeful. And we also want to make sure everyone knows that that doesn't mean we lose the farmers market. So we love the farmers market. I'm there
Thank
quite
you.
often. I
Thank
sit
you
on the
for adding
farmers
that.
market board.
Right.
And so we are looking into both short-term and long-term solutions from the farmers market. You know, we are about to kick off the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So that could be a solution. We are also, Trey mentioned the downtown master plan. So we are making a lot of big plans for our future, and the farmers market will be plugged into those plans.
Another
So-
one of those plans that I'm really excited about is the partnership relationship we've created with the folks who are behind the development of the Emeal Multicultural Center
Yes.
complex, and its promise of a recreation center here in town. And so, Trey, you want to give people a little bit of background on the
Sure.
city council level discussions we've had about that?
Sure. Also in that 62 block downtown area, like Paul mentioned, is this Emeal Multicultural Center. But what was a big first step, I think, was when we talked about the budget last night, and that's the neighborhood regulating plan, which is a document that will do some high-level engineering and establish where all the infrastructure is going to go, the streets, the drainage, the water and sewer lines, that'll only enhance that area around the Emeal School.
Yeah.
But
Has
eventually-
the recreation center being there at some point is cherry on top. I mean,
Right.
this has drainage and transportation improvements, redevelopment opportunities it's creating for an underdeveloped, underserved part of town for generations now. It's
That's
just,
We're
So,
not just-
and I
Go
do
ahead.
think we should, I feel like we're speaking a different language. We should catch everyone up because we talk about it all day long. It feels like everyone knows exactly what we know. So the Emeal Group is a nonprofit, and it's a group of students who were part of the last graduating class from the Emeal High School, which was the African American high school before desegregation. And so it is, the last class I believe was 1969, and it is a really incredible group of people who are passionate about their community and passionate about the incredible experience they had at Emeal. And so they want to celebrate that, and they want to build a community space open for everyone. And the only thing is they don't want to run it. So they want to build it, they want to fundraise for it, they want to help plan it, they want to dream it, and then they want to give it to the city. So the city to operate.
But they want to incorporate that history into
absolutely.
So there'll be a museum and recreation center.
That's right.
And gathering space for
it will be a place for us as a community to celebrate our diversity and our togetherness, and really enjoy each other. So it's exciting, and they are such a passionate group of people. I have found that the more passionate the group of people, the crazier things they can accomplish. So I think
crazy being a good thing.
I think crazy being big, like
right.
things that seem insurmountable. When you have passion and you have people who get together and share that passion and grow that passion, the craziest things happen, the biggest, most insurmountable things that seem like huge obstacles, and I think this group has it. And so the Emeal site where the high school was is on 95. It is where the soccer fields are currently. That was the site of the school, and so they are hoping to build that Emeal Center there on that site. The Bastrop City Council a few months ago signed a letter of intent. Again, that we may be going steady with a few different people. They signed, don't tell.
We can handle it. Trey can handle it.
Signed a letter of intent to partner with the Emeal nonprofit to try to make this dream a reality. And to that, we have placed in the proposed budget money to create that site plan, to really talk about what that infrastructure would look like, and how the city could help provide some of that infrastructure. So that's an exciting first step. So we are hopeful that the Emeal project will happen. We are hopeful that it will happen there on that incredible space where so much history occurred, and hopefully it will happen sooner rather than later, so that way we have a space to really serve our community. We in this community have needed a recreation center for a very long time, and this is an incredible opportunity to provide that in a way that is just steeped in history and community, and yeah.
Anything to add, Trey?
Yeah. A magical recreation center.
You know, so
I think
a few minutes ago, I turned this topic over to Trey.
I know, and he blew it.
Well, I think
he blew it, so I fixed it. You're welcome.
I think
Trey,
it was important that the city council took that step, because they didn't just think about bringing a recreation center in the future, but they're also thinking about managing the traffic, right? You don't want to just bring something in and not think about those things and how it impacts your surrounding community. That particular area is really prone to flooding because it's right off of Gills Branch. So again, this neighborhood regulating plan, if you will, was the first step to getting all of that taken care of, to make sure it fits into the community, not just physically, but now to have a historical component and a recreational component. It's a great opportunity. I'm happy to be part of it.
And it fits a need. I mean, I might be stating the obvious,
Yes.
but the city's capital plan says, hey, we need a recreation center, and that'll all be fleshed out from a programming standpoint with the Parks Master Plan. And here we've got this wonderful group of people who are working
Community
really
servants,
hard
truly.
in honoring that legacy, to, I'm going to go ahead and use the word, gift us a 42,000 square foot recreation center.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, and they are so thankful of anything we bring to the table, and I feel almost guilty with that because we should be thanking them. They are bringing whatever success they have in their fundraising efforts is an absolute gift to this project.
And this multicultural center and recreation center is something that showed up in every park plan and every survey since 2008.
Yes.
So we know that
absolute demonstrated need.
Yeah.
Yes. And in our experience with the recreation program just over the last year and a half or so certainly speaks to that latent demand out there. We've already outgrown the recreation center we put together, and to borrow a phrase, to be fair, the consistent watchers of this podcast, the dozens of them will know that that in the recreation program podcast that may have been episode 5, I covered about a quarter of this, but I did speak to the relationship with the Emeal nonprofit group. Yeah.
So I do think it's important when we're speaking about gifts, we are also about to award in August a contract for the creation of our Parks and Recreation Master Plan. The city has a Parks and Recreation Master Plan that is now 11 years old.
Right.
It was updated 6 years ago, but we as a community were completely in a different place 11 years ago. And so we have received an incredible gift from the St. David's Foundation. It is a $250,000 Parks and Recreation Master Plan. And what that means is this document will, number one, go through a very robust community engagement process, because we want to hear from every sector of our community on how we can serve them through our parks and recreation, because that really speaks to quality of life. That speaks to the opportunity for connection of our community, and that speaks to our overall community wellness. And so we are going to be boots on the ground. We are going to be on every corner. We're going to be at every event. And if you're passionate about wellness or about supporting our parks and recreation, please let us know, because we are building a small army to go out and collect that input that will then go to the firm that we award this contract to, who will create a plan for the next 10 years of how we get there. Not only what that looks like, but how we fund it, in what order we should do the projects, what will serve the greatest need the soonest. And it is a very detailed plan that will really be the roadmap for our future. And so it was such a beautiful gift from the St. David's Foundation in the form of that grant. And we are really excited for what it really means for the future of
much
parks.
Needed for our decision making.
Yeah. No, it's incredible.
So maybe not quite as magical, but awfully important is everything we are doing in the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction to prepare for growth out there, and to make sure we are adequately serving that growth, and to make sure we are spreading the cost burden around for some pretty expensive plant projects we've got going on. Give everybody an update on where we are with that.
There's quite a bit of development activity happening actually inside the city limits.
Yeah.
In the ETJ, especially in the statutory ETJ, which is that 1 mile ring around the city limits. And yeah, you're absolutely right. That water and that sewer and all the stuff that you need to have a building, it's pretty expensive. So I think we actually have a great team here. Our CEO, Ms. Waldron, who again was the CFO, sorry, not CEO.
It's not promoter. She'll
That's
take
not
that.
Promoter, you're right. Our CFO.
Don't give her any more power.
I think was earlier in this year for a podcast. She absolutely is great with making sure our bond debt is structured well, that we stretch that out.
She is really good at what she does.
But we also have a plan, and that's to get as many customers as we can. So, you hear the saying, many hands make light work. Same thing rings true when it comes to customers. So the City of Bastrop actually has a wastewater CCN, which is our service territory for wastewater. It's about 2.5 times larger than the city limits. And so that allows us to gather a lot of different customers to help pay that burden down. Not only that, but in the ETJ, like you mentioned, we're exploring some opportunities with another wastewater provider, Corex, which used to be LCRA.
Yeah.
They're interested in being a wholesale customer of the city because about 4 years ago, we started planning for this growth. And fortunately, everybody was wise enough to get on board and helped us get funded. And now we're at a point where we're about to wrap up the first phase of the wastewater treatment plant and start the design of the second phase of the wastewater treatment plant next year.
I did not realize until I got into municipal government in a rural county that wastewater is the most valuable asset for infrastructure building and for development. It changes development patterns.
It has very strong implications for land use and beneficial development.
Quite incredible. You know, we joke about that I do the fun half of the city. I do all the magic, and Trey does all the boring stuff. But I have always said that I love to hear him talk about wastewater and water because he's like that little emoji with little hard eyes. Like you can tell, like this is his favorite thing on earth is talking wastewater and water. And so we joke that that's magical to him. Wastewater is magical to him.
Well, you've got to admit it's magic. You just flush the handle and it goes away.
It's pretty magical.
That is how you make
So
it disappear.
magical.
Yeah, that's secret. Let's change topics.
Let's keep that
so,
up.
but I
Right.
do think it's powerful for us to recognize that it was really the foresight of both Trey in his role at the time as Director of Public Works and then Assistant City Manager and Council to understand that we are the only side of Austin that has not grown. It is coming, and in order to prepare for that, we need to prepare the infrastructure because there are so many communities who are currently not prepared for it in the exact area of wastewater across Texas who are actually under building moratoriums because of wastewater. And so it put us in a very good position to be a very competitive site for high quality development.
Yeah, and occasionally the existing ratepayer, taxpayer, the person who has lived in Bastrop for a long time may not always see the importance of managing growth on the city's perimeter or out in the ETJ. And now, it matters a lot. It matters to their pocketbook, both in direct and indirect ways. And if we can't maintain some amount of quality growth along the city's perimeter, that does tend to drag things down. And that story has been written in Texas cities for a long, long time. And the city council of 4-6 years ago absolutely should be commended for taking that strong, aggressive planning step. And let's be smart about this. Trey was right in the middle of all of that, and the city of Bastrop,
that's right,
whatever that meant, and we're going to benefit from that for a long, long time.
There was some real thought that went into that, and everybody realized it's okay to learn, it's okay to make a mistake, but when you do make a decision, realize it's a 50 or 100-year decision.
So we have very concrete plans in place for water and wastewater improvements, and not all of that's put together yet, not all of that's paid for yet, but that plan is in place. We've recently updated our wastewater master plan. Still out there to be addressed from both a planning and a funding standpoint is transportation improvements. And we've had recent good conversations with the city council about that. A lot of that transportation planning thinking is built into our development codes as it regards what we require new development to do from a transportation standpoint. But we've also realized, and we've had this very direct conversation with the city council over the last few months, that having the idea that as development happens, is going to solve that transportation capacity problem is not realistic, right? And that we've got to come up with some plans and strategies for getting that backbone transportation network upgraded and built. And so we funded some study efforts for next fiscal year to take care of that. And yeah, thank you, City Council, for seeing the need for that. Thank you, Bastrop Economic Development Corporation, because we're asking them to fund a big chunk of that study effort.
There is such a thing as, I guess, induced demand, right?
Right.
As it relates to traffic. So
Right.
everybody's excited. They want their favorite store to come in.
Yep.
Pick your own name, doesn't matter. That store shows up, it's super successful.
Bass Pro
That's-
Shops would be great.
Has 4 restaurants around it, and everybody goes there every Friday night to eat dinner, and to leave, it's 45 minutes like you're leaving a George Strait concert, trying to get out of the, right,
Yeah,
like you're trying to get out of the parking lot.
Yeah.
Because the traffic's not there, because the developer's requirement is to build their portion or their share. So again, just to talk about what you mentioned, City Council took another lead role here recently
Yeah.
and said, let's build those streets that we need to move traffic around so that it's not so miserable and it's not so horrible for everybody that comes in and visits. Because did I mention about 87%, I think? Is it 83%?
83, I think.
Of the folks that actually come in and shop here don't live in the city limits. So, but they do bring traffic. So we want to make sure that's managed and that we have an opportunity to fund that through fees later on, or whether that be your proportional share fee or an impact fee. None of those decisions have been made, but it's certainly a way to help finance it, to not put the burden on the current taxpayer.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's important to realize, the state of Texas is the place to be. It is in hot demand. We as Texans know why. But I think what it's done is it's changed the face of economic development, right? So there was a time when we would incentivize companies to come in and develop in an area, but because Texas has become the place to be, corporations are flocking here, and especially in the central Texas region, all of our cities are experiencing this. So now these corporations no longer are looking for economic incentives. What they're looking for is infrastructure. They're looking for you to have infrastructure in place. They're looking for built-ready sites where they can get a building up fast and get working. They're looking for you to have a workforce available, and they're looking for quality of life, right? They know that happy workers are more productive workers. And so they want to ensure, do you have a good quality of life for my employees? And right now, especially in this region and in the state of Texas, cities are competing for corporations based on those things. It's no longer how much rebate you'll give them on sales tax. It's no longer how much money you'll give them.
You are speaking
Yes.
truth there that is backed up by a whole lot of empirical evidence. And I'll use that to give another shout out to the City Council for was it in January of this year, working really hard to create a succinct economic development policy message and pass that along to the Economic Development Corporation, which really does get at the heart of what you are saying, the nature of economic development and what kind of incentives employment center kind of businesses are looking for has changed, certainly since I've been in the business. And so we need to keep up with that and be smart about it. And I do think that changes the strategy about how we use our economic development resources. And so, a lot of good decision making to come. I'm sorry?
That's not unique to us.
Absolutely not.
That
No, we should be
every
learning
city in
lessons
Texas
from cities that
have done it first.
And Bastrop is so well positioned because we did get ahead of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue that the infrastructure decisions as it regards utilities should have been made 20 years ago, but
Sure.
and we are a little bit behind the curve on that. But
we're
we have
extra
not
magical.
lost. We have not at all lost the soul of the community.
That's right.
We haven't lost the visual appeal. We haven't lost what's happening with downtown. We haven't lost what the 71 corridor looks like so many more suburban types of cities in Texas have done. They've lost it. They blew it. They can't resurrect it. But we are in such a great position,
Right.
and the community is it is blessed to have a plan in place and people like you guys who understand that plan and are willing to implement it. I do want to change.
No, I was going to say that really is one of our focus areas, right?
Yes.
Should be a uniquely Bastrop.
Well, and I am, and the council's 9 focus areas here are, the city council's 9 focus areas just interrelate with each other so beautifully. And some say it can't be done, that you can't maintain the character of the city, the Bastrop history and charm, and grow economically, new population, new residents. Absolutely you can.
I think we're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. You just have to have that vision, and you have to have a strategy for bringing those new residents on board. Right? And so all of the stuff we talk about, I think we're implementing. It's all good stuff.
I think not only are we doing it, other people are noticing that we're doing it. Right. We just had a great article in Texas, the Texas Municipal League Town and City magazine, about the fact that we are doing that. The City of Bastrop is growing exponentially and not losing the soul of their community. Texas Highways did an article about. I loved. There was a piece in there that said maybe it's the old buildings downtown that makes it feel like it's still a small town in the middle of huge growth. It's a lot more than the old buildings. It's an army of people who love this city and love this community, and it's not just in these walls, these city hall walls, or up on the dais with council, or it is community members, it is volunteers, it is our nonprofits, it is our partners. It takes a whole big old group of people to really hold a community together through growth, and we are doing it. And so again, we're always looking to add to that army. So if you want to be part of holding this community together through our next chapter, we are excited to welcome those new residents, because they are Bastropians and they are one of us, and we would love to have them also join that army and believe in what we're trying to achieve. So
there's a lot of talk about building infrastructure, but that's what builds neighborhoods, and what you're talking about builds community. And I think we have all of that working together at this point. That's
is pretty cool.
Well, and I think
that's
what makes Trey and I such a good partnership is.
You guys do make a great team.
Yeah, and we have very different priorities, but our priorities, we always end up at the same decision. We come at things very differently, because I am always thinking about the magic and he's always thinking about the infrastructure. But the truth of the matter is you can't have one without the other. There's no place to build community without infrastructure. And the way you build infrastructure is what creates the opportunity for community.
We hear a lot about being customer service or customer centric, and we always come back to the right decision. It's because we know who our customers are. And if you know who your customers are, it's easy to make the right decision. And it's that 7% of the people that are here. Not that we don't like the other 83%. We love them.
So
we serve 11,000 people.
I think that's a good jumping off point to the last big topic I'd like for us to cover, and that is more about the city organization and the kind of things we need to be thinking about to care for and nurture the organization. And Trey, you just talked about that customer service ethic, I guess, and in the sense that the organization, this is an organizational culture thing here in Bastrop, that we do know who the customer is, and I am quick to say I take no credit for that. That ethic was here when I got here 2 years ago. I was so impressed with that, and when I talk about what a great team it is, and talking about the whole 150 position organization as a unit, that is the thing that binds us together. It is we we are a group of people who are very willing to sacrifice what is easy for us for the needs of the customer, and because we know who that customer is. And here's the challenge, right? This is a brand new statistic I haven't shared with anyone yet. I got it from Tanya earlier today.
A secret statistic.
It's a secret statistic, but now to be broadcast on Overheard at City Hall.
Like 12 of them.
So 43% of our total authorized positions are filled by people who have been with the City of Bastrop less than 2 years.
Wow.
That is amazing, right? And a lot of that, when I got here, just at the kind of the tail end of the pandemic, and you guys had a hiring freeze going on, and then we saw that the numbers, the financial numbers are actually pretty good, and council eliminated that freeze right when I got here, and we went on this hiring spree, and the HR department's been going nonstop ever since. There's just a ton of new people here, and the sermon I give all the time is, okay, it's kind of like the new resident. That new employee needs to be coached up on what it means to be a Bastrop employee. And so while I need to look at the rest of how these percentages play out, but if 43% of our positions are pretty new, 2 years or less, I think there's probably another pretty healthy percentage of solid veterans that have been here for a long time. This doesn't apply to the fire department, which is a whole nother subject,
Right.
but that does apply to the police department and the public works department. It certainly does apply to the administrative departments here in City Hall. Yeah,
Absolutely.
a lot of new faces, but there are a lot of veteran champions.
The library.
The library is a great example.
Yes.
Right. And so we need to keep that up. And so I presented the proposed budget to City Council last night, and I told them if there's a theme to this budget, it's about personnel issues. It's about keeping our positions filled, and we talk about this a lot. We talk about this a lot with the police and fire department, keeping positions filled without lowering our standards. And when you're desperate to fill positions, that's a real temptation to just hire anybody. And that temptation normally grows when every other community is increasing their salaries and benefit packages, and we're struggling to keep up. What's been going on with salaries in the region has been just crazy. I've never seen anything like it. And we've gone to City Council a few times in the last few months and said, hey, we've got to do something to keep up. Council says, absolutely, whatever we need to do. We'll be doing more of that in this next year's budget. But I think we know that it's not just about salaries.
No.
It's also has to be about perpetuating that culture. I give the two of you a lot of credit for this, because we do. This is something we spend a lot of time talking about. This is important. We don't want to blow this good thing we've got going on.
And it's something I think we start in the interview process.
Yes.
Yeah,
you
right.
know, the last question is always, what does it mean to you to be a humble public servant?
Thank you.
And it is interesting to me how many people will fumble with that.
And then that person doesn't need to be part of the city.
Right,
It's really that simple, because you will be miserable in this job. I don't care which of the 150 positions you're in. If you can't grasp that it's not about you, and it's not about your agenda, that you need to be trusted and trustworthy, and you prove that by serving people.
That's
and if
right.
that's not in your heart, you need to go work at a bank.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing against
the banks.
Nothing
Not
against
against
working
bankers,
at banks.
but
And they serve
yeah.
people too, don't get me wrong.
No.
But it is different.
I think there's something to, I think the culture when you have a group of humble public servants really centers around, this willingness to do whatever it takes, right?
Yep.
This willingness to show up on weekends if you have to.
Kind of a public works kind of mentality.
Yes. I mean, I can tell you in
works.
whatever role we have, that doesn't mean that we're not moving chairs or moving tables.
Yep.
When we see someone else doing work, we jump in and help, because it's that heart of service, and you're fulfilled by the good you see in the community, right? And so that's why I love, I call it fill in your love cup. I love like the community events and things like that, and really try to get our employees, if they're not working them, to be there. Because I try to walk up to every single one of our employees working events and tell them, look at the community you're building. And they're like, oh, we're just moving chairs. And I'm like, no, you're not.
So this is why we have a communications and special events team, and we marry those concepts together.
Like this is what you do is powerful here. And we always say that we build trust with our community one relationship at a time. Sometimes that's when you, with your city shirt or your uniform, are walking down the street and you say good morning to someone. Wait, did you
come up with the one relationship at a time thing, or was that me?
That was me.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
all right.
That was definitely me.
Okay. Whatever. But okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was mine.
I'm leaving. So yeah.
Or it's as simple as, when someone sees you in your city shirt, pick up trash off the ground, or put your shopping cart back. Right. It's about ensuring that you are always being.
I'm kind of convicted by the shopping cart thing.
Well, I always tell the public works guys or people on the community development side of the city, you're doing a good job when they start to take you for granted, right? Yeah. When somebody realizes that you're not even there, and the light switch works when you flip the switch, or the toilet flushes when you go in, or the shower works in the morning, or you can fill your coffee pot, and you take that for granted, that's when we know we're doing our job well. And it's really important.
Yeah, it's great to be taken for granted.
Right?
Yeah. I don't need 100 people coming to a council meeting saying we're doing a good job. Thank you.
Yes, that is important.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. Colin, we are way over time, aren't we? Way over time. You guys want to wrap this up? Okay.
I don't want to.
Okay, well, let's wrap it up.
I'm having big feelings.
I think the city of Bastrop is in great hands, and it's okay to be taken for granted. Message from me, Trey, you're an amazing resource for this community. They are blessed to have you in any role, especially that acting city manager role. It is really cool to see how you relate with the team, both those newer employees and the veterans. Many of them saw you in this role just a couple of years ago, and everyone has so much confidence in your ability just to keep the wheels on and keep everything going, and making sure everyone's on the same page and everyone gets the right amount of encouragement. And so, yeah, you're just the perfect person for that role. Rebecca, what you bring to the team is pretty special too. Special and unique, and we would be a less productive place. And I know people probably don't always think about you and productivity, but seriously,
Rude.
I'm awkwardly working on a compliment here, but you're amazingly productive. You crank out a lot of work, and you've got a structure and you've got a process, and it's the attorney in you. You think through things very linearly for a person who talks about magic as much as you do.
For my sparkling personality.
That's right. Yes, you are delightful, as you like to tell
Remind
people.
us every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's been a joy. Colin, the podcast has been a joy too, and I hope the next city manager keeps up their tradition.
Well, thanks for saying all that. We're going to miss you.
Yeah,
You brought some good stability to the city.
Okay.
I appreciate that. I know you don't want to get too fussy about this, but we will miss you, and you did a great job while you were here.
Yeah,
And I
thanks.
think we all learned a lot.
I
And
definitely
especially
agree with
Rebecca,
that.
she had the farthest to go. But
Pretty steep learning curve for
That's right.
the
I'll be
former.
there day one as the guest professor in your classroom too.
Maybe
Yeah.
not day one. We'll just be going over a syllabus day one.
Oh.
So,
But thank you, really.
Yeah.
thank you.
That's great. And I do plan to just not hold the wheels on, but to absolutely be the city manager and make sure this is
Oh,
well taken care of.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think that's what everybody expects. There's way too much stuff going on here
Yeah.
for you just to
A lot of
nail it
exciting
in.
projects.
Right.
So I want to say, we talk a lot about the fact that we're in this spot where we're growing from being a big town to a small city.
Right.
And with that is us becoming more sophisticated in certain areas.
Yeah.
And number one, thank you for the last 2 years. You brought us incredible strides in becoming that sophisticated city. You brought us processes that have changed the way that we do business, probably for the rest of the history of the city of Bastrop. And to that, it has allowed us to achieve more and to serve at a higher level of service and to touch more of our residents, and forever grateful for that. I think it is very easy to say that you are leaving the city better than you found it. And so thank you for that.
Well, Rebecca, in 2 years, you've never been that nice to me.
I know. That's
And you sound sincere. So
I believe just last night, my last words before your last city council meeting was, "Don't blow it."
Right.
But also for your 39 years of service to
thank you.
cities
That's nice of
across
you to
the
say.
state of Texas. That
it's
is
been a fun ride.
that is
Great career.
a beautiful gift you have given several communities.
Now I get to go encourage graduate students to go off and do the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exciting. We will miss you.
thanks.
But we're glad you're not moving.
We're not moving.
You'll still be here.
Still be
and
at
we're
the
still
rec
going to
center.
have our Wednesday lunches.
And maybe not.
We know where you live, so we will be there often.
That will be fun, right?
But no, thank you for
Thank you,
39
guys.
years of service and for the impact you've made right here on this
Well,
community.
I have truly loved it, and love you guys, and love the fact that you love the organization and what you're doing. So, thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay.
We love and we'll miss you.
Thank you.